I shoved open the creaky door to the locker room, the stale mix of sweat and chlorine slamming into me like a linebacker. There stood my stepson, Jamie, cornered against the cold metal lockers by 3 meatheads from the football team, their sneers twisting like knives in the dim fluorescent buzz. "Faggot thinks he can just waltz in here like he owns the place," one growled, but before I could charge, Jamie's eyes locked on mine. Not with fear but fire, and he did the unbelievable. He dropped his towel, stood tall, and said, "Yeah, I am, and I'm done hiding it for cowards like you." The world tilted in that instant, the air thick with the echo of his words hanging like smoke after a gunshot. I'd known Jamie since he was 12, a scrawny kid with my wife's sharp wit and a smile that could melt the Pacific Northwest rain. Sarah and I had married 5 years back in a quiet ceremony in Seattle, the kind where the evergreens whispered secrets and the sound lapped at our feet like it approved. She was my anchor after my divorce from Mark. Yeah, the ex-husband who'd bailed when the closet got too cramped, and Jamie? He was the bonus round I never saw coming. But standing there, towel forgotten at his feet, his chest heaving not from shame but from the raw guts it had taken to bare his soul, I realized the boy I'd coached through peewee soccer and late-night algebra had become a man willing to bleed for his truth. And damn if it didn't crack something wide open in me. Those 3 jocks froze, their bravado crumbling like wet cardboard. The ringleader, Brock, captain of the team, son of the mayor, poster boy for toxic everything, stammered, "What the hell, man? Put that away." But Jamie didn't flinch. He stepped forward, naked vulnerability his armor, and jabbed a finger at Brock's chest. "You want to hit me? Go ahead. But you touch one more queer kid in this school, and I'll make sure everyone knows what a bully you really are." The other 2 shifted uneasily, glancing at me like I was the cavalry finally arriving. I was the assistant coach for the swim team, after all, had been for years, blending into the background with my whistle and clipboard, hiding my own scars under dad jokes and protein shakes. I crossed the room in 3 strides, my heart pounding harder than during any championship relay. "Back off, boys," I said, my voice low and steady, the kind I'd honed from years of boardroom battles before Sarah dragged me into this suburban life. Brock sneered but backed up, muttering something about freaks sticking together. They slunk out, tails between their legs, leaving Jamie and me in the humid silence. He grabbed his towel then, wrapping it around his waist with hands that trembled just a bit. "Coach, Dad," he corrected, swallowing hard. "You weren't supposed to see that." I pulled him into a hug before he could say more, the kind that says everything words can't. His shoulders shook against mine, and for the first time, I felt the weight of what he'd carried alone. "I'm proud of you, kid," I whispered into his damp hair. "Prouder than you know." We stood like that until the steam cleared, the locker room emptying of ghosts. But as we walked out into the crisp Seattle dusk, Puget Sound glittering like shattered glass under the setting sun, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the starting gun. Jamie's confession wasn't just about him. It was a mirror, forcing me to face the parts of myself I'd buried deeper than Lake Washington. That night, dinner was a minefield wrapped in salmon and asparagus. Sarah picked at her plate, her blue eyes, Jamie's eyes, flicking between us like she could sense the shift in the air. Our home in Ballard was the picture of cozy Americana. Exposed brick walls lined with photos of us at Pike Place Market, Jamie's swim medals dangling from a wrought iron rack, the faint hum of fairy horns drifting in from the waterfront. We'd built this life on compromises, me, the graphic designer turned stay-at-home stepdad. Her, the high school counselor who saw too much pain in her office not to bring light home. But as Jamie pushed his peas around, mumbling about practice running late, I saw the lie for what it was. He was protecting us, or maybe himself, from the fallout. After he excused himself to his room, posters of indie bands and that one faded rainbow flag I'd snuck in last Pride, I cornered Sarah in the kitchen. "He came out today," I said, leaning against the counter, the scent of lemon cleaner sharp in my nose. Her fork clattered against the plate. "What? How? Oh God, Alex, is he okay?" She reached for my hand, her grip fierce, but there was a shadow in her eyes, something I'd glimpsed before but never named. Relief? Fear? Or worse, calculation? He's brave as hell, I told her, squeezing back. Stood up to those idiots in the locker room. Bare-ass naked, Sarah. Like a goddamn warrior. She laughed, a brittle sound that echoed off the cabinets. But then her face crumpled. I knew. He told me last month, in whispers after that assembly on bullying. But I didn't know how to tell you. With your history, my history, the divorce, the therapy sessions where I'd unpacked being gay in a straight world. The way I'd proposed to her not out of fire but friendship. A lavender lifeline in a red state we'd fled. We'd agreed. Love without labels, co-parenting Jamie like pros. But hearing her admit she'd kept this from me, it stung like salt water in a fresh cut. We talked late into the night, wine glasses sweating on the coffee table, the city lights twinkling through our bay window like distant campfires. She cried about failing him, about the mom guilt that gnawed at her for working late shifts at the school. I held her, but my mind was upstairs with Jamie, replaying that defiant stance, the way his voice had cracked on faggot, like it was a badge, not a slur. By midnight, we'd vowed to support him, pride flags on the porch, therapy referrals, the works. But as I climbed the stairs, the floorboards creaking under my weight, I paused at his door. A sliver of light spilled out, and through the crack, I saw him on his bed, phone in hand, typing furiously. Was it a text to a boyfriend, a friend, or just venting into the void? I didn't knock. Some battles you fight alone first. The next week blurred into a rhythm of guarded normalcy. Mornings. Me brewing coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Jamie scarfing down oatmeal while scrolling swim times on his phone. School drop-offs. Sarah's Prius humming through rain-slicked streets. The Space Needle piercing the clouds like a promise. Afternoons. Me at the pool, clipboard in hand, barking laps while stealing glances at Jamie slicing through the water. His form poetry in blue-tiled grace. He was our star. The Kid Scouts whispered about for college scholarships. But now every cheer felt laced with subtext. Teammates clapped his back a little too hard. Coaches asked if he was distracted. And Brock? He lurked in the bleachers, eyes like daggers, waiting for a slip. It was during one of those endless practices that the first crack showed. Jamie touched the wall a full second off his PR. Frustration etching lines on his young face. Again, I called, but he shook his head, climbing out with water sheeting off his skin. In the locker room. God, that room haunted me now. He slammed his locker, the bang echoing like thunder. I followed, casual as I could. Talk to me, son. He whirled, goggles dangling from his fist. It's nothing. Just, they know Dad. The whole team's whispering. And Mom. She acts like it's no big deal, but I hear her on the phone with Grandma. All it's a phase. His voice broke, and there it was. The betrayal, small but sharp, from the woman who'd sworn to shield him. I sat on the bench, patting the spot beside me. He dropped down, towel loose around his hips, the vulnerability from that first day echoing back. Your mom's human, Jamie. Scared shitless because she loves you too much. But phases? Bull. I know phases. I lived one for 30 years. He turned, those blue eyes searching mine. You mean, with Dad? Mark. I nodded, the old ache surfacing like driftwood. Married him in secret, divorced when the world got too loud. Then your mom saved me, gave me this family. But coming out? It's not a phase. It's oxygen. He leaned his head on my shoulder then, a simple gesture that hit like a tidal wave. In that moment, with the chlorine sting in our eyes and the distant splash of laps, I felt it. A pull, deeper than duty. A thread of recognition that scared me more than any closet ever had. We didn't talk about it that day, but it lingered, a current under the surface. Evenings became our sanctuary. Walks along the waterfront, where fairies cut wakes like silver arrows, and we'd dissect movies. Brokeback Mountain for the tragedy, Moonlight for the quiet triumph. Jamie opened up about crushes, the boy in art class who'd ghosted him after a fumbled kiss, the fear of losing his shot at nationals. I shared stories of my youth in Spokane, cruising dive bars with fake IDs, the thrill and terror of first touches in shadowed alleys. laughter mixed with tears, forging something unbreakable. Sarah noticed, her smiles tighter, questions probing. You two are thick as thieves lately. We'd brush it off, but the air hummed with unspoken tension. Then came the betrayal, swift as a riptide. It was 2 weeks later, a Friday night bonfire on Alki Beach, the kind where locals roast marshmallows under the Olympic silhouette, waves whispering secrets to the shore. The swim team had won regionals, Jamie anchoring the relay with a dive that split the water like glass. Celebrations ran hot. Beers snuck in coolers, guitars strumming folk tunes, the scent of smoke and salt weaving through the crowd. I was nursing a soda, chatting with parents when I spotted Jamie by the dunes with Brock. Of all people. My gut twisted. What the hell? I hung back, shadows my ally, but close enough to hear. Brock's voice, slurred and ugly. Heard you're out, fairy. Mom says it's why you're soft in the pool. Mom? Sarah? My blood ran cold. Jamie shoved him hard. Stay away from my family, you prick. Brock laughed, swinging wild, but Jamie ducked, countering with a hook that split the asshole's lip. Chaos erupted, shouts, sand flying, teammates pulling them apart. I burst from the dark, hauling Jamie back, my arm around his waist like iron. Enough! Brock's dad, the mayor, stormed over, face purple. This is assault. I'll have him expelled. In the melee, Sarah appeared, her face ashen. Jamie, what did you do? Not are you okay? Not Brock started it. Just accusation. Later, in the ER waiting room, Brock's nose broken, Jamie's knuckles raw. She confessed, voice a whisper over vending machine coffee. I told his mom, a PDA. Thought it'd explain why he's different. Help them understand. Understand? Or warn? The word phase echoed back, twisted now into something weaponized. Betrayal burned, hot and personal. I'd trusted her with our fragile peace, and she'd cracked it wide for small-town gossip. Jamie overheard from the hallway, his eyes shattering like surf on rocks. You outed me? For what? To make friends. He bolted, the door slamming behind him. I chased, finding him on the beach, knees to chest, waves lapping at his sneakers. She's scared, kid, of losing you to this world. He looked up, tears carving tracks in the sand-dusted grime on his face. But you get it. You always have. And then, in the firelight's flicker, he leaned in, not as son, but as equal, and pressed his lips to mine. Soft, tentative, tasting of salt and smoke. The world stopped, my heart a drum in the roar of the tide. It was wrong, impossible. Stepfather, stepson. But in that kiss, it was everything. Affirmation, ache, the romance I denied myself for years. We pulled apart, breathless. The line we'd towed now crossed in the sand. Jamie, I started, but he silenced me with a finger to my lips. Don't say it's a mistake. Not yet. We walked home in silence, the city lights blurring through rain-streaked windows, my mind a storm. Sarah waited on the porch, arms crossed, but the fight drained from her at the sight of us. United, unbreakable. I'm sorry, she whispered as we passed. I thought I was protecting him, but protection isn't control, and trust, once shattered, takes more than words to mend. The fallout cascaded like a flash flood. School suspended Brock for the fight, but whispers swirled. Jamie the instigator, the problem child. Sarah quit PDA, took leave from work, our home a pressure cooker of apologies and averted eyes. Jamie swam like a man possessed, channeling fury into flips and strokes. But off the blocks, he withdrew, sketching in his notebook. Abstract swirls of blue and gold, emotions poured onto paper. Our moments stolen. A hand on his shoulder lingering too long, eyes meeting across the breakfast table with heat that simmered low. It was romance in glances, in the way he'd brush past me in the hall. His scent, chlorine and citrus, lingering like a promise. No more kisses, not yet. We danced around the taboo, hearts pounding in sync. But climax brewed in the shadows. State championships loomed in Tacoma, a pressure cooker of scouts and spotlights. The night before departure, Sarah confronted us in the living room, wine glass trembling in her hand. I see it, you know, the way you look at each other. It's not just support. It's, she trailed off, tears spilling. I love you both, but this, it's destroying us. Jamie stood, voice steady. Then let us go, Mom. I'm 18. I love him not like a dad. Like, more. The room spun, her gasp a wound. Betrayal reversed. Her keeping secrets, now ours laid bare. She didn't scream, didn't flee. Instead, she sank to the couch, whispering, I knew, deep down. Just, be careful. The world's not kind to loves like yours. Dawn broke gray and relentless as we loaded the van for Tacoma. Sarah hugged Jamie fierce. Then me, her whisper hot against my ear. If it breaks him, it breaks me. The drive was charged, Jamie's playlist, hosier ballads and soft indie, filling the cab with longing. At the natatorium, the air hummed with competition. Chlorine bite, echoing dives, the sharp tang of ambition. He qualified easy, but finals night, the 200-meter freestyle, was Armageddon. Brock was there, disqualified but spectating, his glare a venom dart from the stands. Halfway through the race, Jamie faltered, arms slicing wrong, visions of bullies and betrayals flashing in the water's blur. He touched the wall third, disqualification looming for a false start rumor Brock had spread. In the locker room, fate's cruel loop, he paced, towel clenched, fury boiling. They rigged it. Because of me. I blocked the door, the team filtering out like smoke. Hey, eyes on me. He did, chest heaving, and crashed into my arms, sobs racking him. I can't lose this. Not now. Our foreheads touched, breaths mingling. You won't. You're stronger than their hate. And then, the unbelievable redux. He kissed me again, desperate, affirming, the world narrowing to us in that steamy sanctum. No steam this time, just us, raw, real. I love you, Alex, he murmured against my lips. All of you. We emerged transformed. He protested the call, evidence from video replay clearing him. Brock's sabotage exposed when a teammate cracked. Gold medal around his neck. Jamie pulled me into the stands. Sarah cheering hoarse, the crowd a blur. But later, in the hotel, with her in the next room, we talked till dawn. Not lovers yet, but bound by something profound. We'll figure it, I said. His hand in mine under the covers, chaste but electric. Back in Seattle, healing unfolded slow as tide pools. Sarah dove into therapy, us three rebuilding on honesty. Family nights with board games and brutal truths. Her dating a kind barista from the market, space for us to breathe. Jamie deferred college for a gap year, coaching kids at the Y, his sketches turning to murals of queer icons on community walls. Our romance bloomed quiet. Coffee dates masked as errands. Hikes in the Olympics where we'd steal kisses amid ferns. Hands intertwined like roots. No grand gestures, just the humanistic grind. Doctor visits for my creeping arthritis. His first job's blisters, arguments over dishes that ended in laughter. 1 year on, at our porch pride flag raising, Jamie proposed. Not ring, but words, under a sky bruised purple by sunset. Build this with me? Not as step anything. As equals. Tears stung as I nodded. Sarah toasting with sparkling cider, her smile genuine now. We didn't marry. Too messy for forms. But vowed in the evergreen hush. A love story American as apple pie and rebellion. Flawed, fierce, forever. The locker room? We pass it daily, a scar-turned talisman. And every time, I remember. Unbelievable isn't the act, but the grace to rise from it. Love, after all, is the ultimate dive, deep, breathless, resurfacing hole. Life after that proposal felt like swimming upstream against a current that alternately buoyed and battered us. Seattle's summers stretched lazy and luminous, the kind where the sun hangs low like it's reluctant to leave, painting the sound in hues of peach and indigo. Jamie and I navigated our new normal with the caution of divers testing depths. Intimate in stolen moments, public as stepdad and stepson to shield him from the world's sharper edges. Sarah, bless her resilient heart, became our quiet ally, hosting family resets. With takeout from Ivers and playlists she'd curated to keep things light. But lightness was a lie we told ourselves. Beneath it churned the emotional undercurrents of what we'd become. It started small, the conflicts that tested our seams. Jamie's mural project exploded. Local news dubbing it Ballard's Rainbow Renaissance, drawing tourists and trolls alike. One evening, as he painted a massive portrait of Harvey Milk on a warehouse wall, spray can in hand, his phone buzzed relentless. Hate mail, the vitriolic kind that slithers from anonymous accounts. Groomer stepdad, perverted family. He showed me in the truck on the way home, his jaw set like granite. Ignore it, I said, gripping the wheel tighter than necessary. But inside, rage simmered. A protective fury I'd felt only once before, when Mark had left me gutted in our Spokane apartment, the walls echoing with his goodbye. We fought that night, our first real one as lovers. He paced the kitchen, voice rising. Ignore? That's your answer? Pretend it doesn't touch us. I shot back. What then? Punch pixels? You're the one who said we'd rise above. It escalated, words like wayward strokes in a relay, until he stormed out to the back deck, the city lights mocking us from afar. I followed after 10 agonizing minutes, finding him curled on the Adirondack, staring at the stars peeking through marine layer. I'm scared, Alex, he admitted, voice small, of losing you to this noise, of it being too much. I knelt, taking his hands, calloused from brushes and lanes. It's always too much, but we're the tide that wears it down. That vulnerability cracked us open further, leading to nights where we'd lie on the living room rug, tracing constellations on the ceiling with our fingers, sharing dreams deferred. Mine, opening a design studio focused on queer advocacy graphics, logos that screamed visibility without shouting. His, swimming for Team USA, but channeling that Olympic fire into youth programs, teaching kids to float before they fear drowning. Romance wove through it. Lazy mornings where he'd wake me with coffee and a kiss on the temple, the simple domesticity of it healing old wounds. No grand passions, just the steady burn of partnership, American in its unpretentious grit. But betrayal's shadow lingered, not from Sarah this time, but from within the team. It hit during fall tryouts, the pool a cauldron of fresh faces and old grudges. A new assistant coach, Riley, mid-30s, all charm and chiseled abs from his D1 days, took to Jamie like a moth to flame. Kid's got potential, he'd say, clapping Jamie's shoulder a beat too long, eyes lingering in ways that twisted my gut. At first, I chalked it up to paranoia, the green-eyed monster I'd thought tamed. But then came the late mentoring sessions. Jamie emerging flushed, evasive. Just strategy talk, he'd insist, but his gaze skittered away. Suspicion festered, climaxing one rainy Tuesday after practice. I lingered in the office, pretending to log times, when I heard them in the alcove, Riley's voice low, coaxing. You're wasting it with him, Jay. An old guy. Come on, we could. The rest blurred in red haze, but Jamie's laugh sharp, deflecting, cut through. Back off. Alex is more man than you'll ever be. I burst in, Riley straightening like a guilty schoolboy. Problem, coach? He smirked. Jamie's eyes widened, caught. Alex, it's nothing. But it was everything. The temptation to stray, the pull of youth's reckless validation against our hard-won depth. We drove home in silence, wipers slapping rhythm like accusations. At the first red light on Aurora Avenue, he broke. He cornered me. Flirted, yeah, but I shut it down. Swear. Tears mixed with rain on his cheeks. Betrayal reversed again. Not his, but the world's insistence on seeing our love as fragile, replaceable. I know, I said, pulling over into a Starbucks lot, the neon glow casting halos on his face. But it hurts, thinking you might doubt us. He cupped my face, thumbs brushing stubble. Never. You're my anchor. We kissed there, fierce and forgiving. The steamed windows our confessional. Riley was gone by week's end. Sarah's counselor network whispering of past complaints. A quiet exit to spare the program scandal. It bonded us tighter, but exposed the fragility. In a town where progress marched slow as a funeral dirge, our story was lightning rod. Community meetings turned tense, parents side-eyeing me at swim meets, whispers of inappropriate dynamic. Jamie shielded me, fierce as that locker room day, but it wore on him. Sleepless nights, dives gone erratic. "I hate them for making us villains," he'd mutter, curled against me in bed. Our touches chaste but charged, boundaries we honored like sacred lanes. Winter descended, gray and unrelenting, mirroring the emotional churn. Christmas brought fragile peace. Sarah's new partner, Lena, joining us for eggnog and die-hard marathons, her easy laugh thawing old frosts. We exchanged gifts. Me a leather-bound sketchbook for Jamie, him a custom whistle engraved, "Unbelievable." But under the tree's twinkle, conflict brewed anew. A letter from Nationals. Jamie named alternate for the Olympic trials. A whisper of glory. Elation warred with dread. Spotlights meant scrutiny. Our secret teetering on exposure. The high came crashing in February, at a regional gala in Tacoma. Black ties and sequins, the natatorium transformed into a ballroom of crystal and chlorine ghosts. Jamie, sharp in a borrowed suit, owned the room. Handshakes with sponsors, laughs with scouts. I watched from the bar, pride swelling like a perfect breaststroke, until Brock's father cornered me, Scotch breath hot. "Heard your boys got a sugar daddy. Careful ruins careers." Venom dripped, but I smiled cool. "Jealousy doesn't suit you, Mayor." Yet it burrowed, the betrayal of power plays turning personal. Jamie sensed it, pulling me to the dance floor during a slow set. Etta James' crooning soul. We swayed, his head on my shoulder, the world fading to our rhythm. "Ignore the noise," he murmured, echoing me. But as the song swelled, a flash, some parent's phone, capturing us in that embrace. By morning, it was viral in swim circles. Scandal at gala? Coach and swimmer too close? The backlash hit like a tsunami. Sponsors pulling, Sarah fielding calls at dawn. Jamie's phone a barrage of support and slurs. We holed up, the house a bunker against the storm. "This is it," he said, pacing, voice cracking. "They'll take everything." I pulled him down, our foreheads touching. "Not us. Never us." That night, emotion crested. Tears, confessions, the raw unraveling of fears we'd armored. "I love you beyond medals," he whispered, and in the dim lamplight, we crossed another line. Not with heat, but with the quiet union of souls, hands entwined, promises sealed in silence. Spring thawed the freeze, trials approaching like a beacon. We trained ferocious, me spotting his form, him pushing my limits in runs along the Burke-Gilman Trail, evergreens whispering encouragement. Sarah and Lena rallied, organizing a family fund for legal fees against defamation suits. The community fractured, some allies emerging, potlucks turning advocacy hubs, but the humanistic core shone. Neighbors dropping pies with notes of "You're not alone." Climax peaked in Omaha, the trials a coliseum of speed and stakes. Jamie Dove in the prelims, water erupting like applause, qualifying top seed. Finals day, the arena pulsed, crowds roaring, air thick with dreams. He glanced at me from the blocks, our secret signal, a subtle fist to heart. Then he flew, arms churning poetry, touching first by a fingernail's breadth. Gold. The stands erupted, Sarah screaming, me weeping unashamed as he climbed out, metal gleaming, straight into my arms. "We did it," he gasped. The kiss we shared chased for cameras but electric in truth. Back home, the ending unfolded human, not Hollywood. No parades, just quiet victories. Jamie heading to UC Berkeley on scholarship, me launching that studio with murals mirroring his. Sarah and Lena's wedding in June, us toasting under the gazebo, rain pattering like blessings. Our love, enduring, evolved, visits laced with longing, calls that bridge miles, the romance of chosen family. Betrayals scarred, but they forged us stronger, a testament to American grit. Love wins not in fanfare, but in the daily dive. The summer after the trials was an interlude of golden reprieve. the kind Seattle grants grudgingly between monsoons. A brief window where the air tasted of salt and possibility, and the city exhaled. Jamie deferred his move to Berkeley for a month, citing loose ends. But we both knew it was stalling the inevitable pull of distance on our tether. We filled days with the mundane magic of lovers unscripted. Farmers markets at Fremont, where he'd haggle over heirloom tomatoes while I sketched logos on napkins. Ferry rides to Bainbridge, wind whipping our hair as we fed gulls from picnics of cheese and crusty bread. Romance simmered in these pockets. His hand slipping into mine under the table at a cafe. The brush of lips in shadowed alleys behind the aquarium. Always mindful of eyes but defiant in spirit. Yet conflict never sleeps. It merely shapeshifts. It arrived via envelope, crisp and official, addressed to our Ballard bungalow in Sarah's neat cursive, though the return was from a lawyer in Spokane. My past, unburied. Mark, my ex, filing for asset division on old joint holdings I'd forgotten in the divorce fog. He's broke. The letter stated coolly. Gambling debts from Reno. Claims emotional duress entitles him to half your settlement. Half. The nest egg that funded my studio startup, Jamie's art supplies, the buffer against lean months. Betrayal's ghost, risen to haunt not just me, but us. Jamie found me in the garage, the letter crumpled in my fist, tools scattered from a half-hearted shelf project. "What's this?" he asked, unfolding it with gentle fingers. His face darkened as he read, then softened into resolve. "We'll fight it. Together." But the undercurrent was dread. Court dates meant dredging skeletons. My closeted years with Mark splashed in depositions. The lavender marriage to Sarah twisted into tabloid fodder. "It'll out us all over again," I muttered, sinking onto a milk crate. He knelt, eyes fierce. "Good. Let them see we're real." The legal grind was a slow erosion. Weeks of calls with attorneys in wood-paneled offices downtown. The Space Needle mocking from windows like a distant dream. Sarah rallied, her counselor's insight turning interrogations into therapy. "Mark's hurting, Alex, but that doesn't make him right." Lena baked lemon bars for strategy sessions. Our kitchen a war room of highlighters and takeout boxes. Jamie dove deepest, researching precedents late into nights. His sketches now fierce caricatures of justice scales tipped by rainbows. Our bond deepened in the strain. Nights where he'd massage knots from my shoulders after Zoom depositions, whispering, "You're my hero, flaws and all." Emotional intimacy crested, touches lingering longer. The romance a balm against bureaucracy's chill. Climax brewed in the courtroom, a sterile box in Spokane's old courthouse, the air heavy with polished oak and regret. Mark sat across the aisle, gaunt and grayed, his eyes avoiding mine. Once lovers, now adversaries in pinstripes. Testimony unfolded like a bad relay. His lawyer painting me as the villain who abandoned our life for a convenient straight marriage. Words slicing deep. I took the stand, voice steady under fluorescent glare. "Mark and I loved hard, but it broke because we hid. Sarah gave me family, truth. This claim, it's desperation, not due." Jamie watched from the gallery, his presence a lifeline, fingers twisting a stress ball Sarah had slipped him. Then Mark's turn, his voice cracking on the mic. He left me shattered, chasing normalcy. Lies laced with half-truths, the betrayal not just financial but emotional. A mirror to my fears of inadequacy. But as he faltered, eyes flicking to Jamie, tall, proud in the pews, something shifted. Recess called, and in the hall, Mark cornered me by the vending machine, coffee cups steaming like truce flags. "That your boy? Looks at you like." He trailed, envy etching lines deeper. "Don't screw it up like we did." Not apology but acknowledgement, a crack in the armor. Back in session, Jamie's turn as character witness, though not required. He stood, suit crisp, voice unwavering. "Alex didn't abandon anyone. He built us from broken pieces. Mark's debts are his, but the love? That's ours, unbreakable." The judge's gavel fell soon after, ruling in my favor. Assets intact, Mark referred to counseling. We drove home under clearing skies, the Cascades rising like sentinels. Jamie's hand on my thigh the whole way. "You were unbelievable," I said, echoing our origin. He grinned, that locker room fire alive. We both were. Healing post-verdict was humanistic patchwork. Mark's occasional texts, halting bridges over chasms, and Jamie's first gallery show in Pioneer Square, his murals alive on canvas, selling to collectors who saw the soul in strokes. Romance flourished unchecked now, weekends at cabin rentals in the San Juans, where we'd hike to bluffs overlooking the strait, making love in the abstract, bodies entwined with the reverence of rediscovery, always stopping short of consummation, honoring the emotional core over flesh. "It's enough," he'd say, tracing my scars from old surgeries. "You here now." But summer waned, autumn's chill heralding Jamie's departure. Conflict resurfaced in goodbyes. Sarah's tears at packing parties, Lena's playlists for the road, my studio's first big client demanding deadlines that clashed with send-offs. The night before, we walked the waterfront, ferries ghosting by like memories. "Berkeley's 8 hours," he said, voice thick. "Feels like oceans." I pulled him close by the Ferris wheel's glow, its lights dancing on waves. Distance tests, doesn't break. Our kiss was salt-kissed, desperate, the romance a vow against voids. He left at dawn, U-Haul rumbling south, Sarah and I waving till taillights faded. The house echoed, my studio a refuge of deadlines and designs. Queer-owned brands blooming under my logo's touch. Calls came daily. His dorm woes, my client wins, laughter bridging miles. But emotion crested in October, a surprise visit for my birthday. He burst into the studio, arms laden with takeout from our favorite faux spot, eyes alight. "Missed you too much." We celebrated quiet, dinner with Sarah and Lena, then a drive to Discovery Park, paths crunching under leaves. There, under a canopy of maples aflame, he dropped to one knee. Not proposal redux, but a gift. A custom medal engraved "Unbelievable Anchor." For the man who dove in with me. Tears fell as I pinned it on. Our embrace fierce, the park's hush our chapel. Romance rekindled in whispers, plans for Thanksgivings and breaks. The humanistic truth. Love endures separations, growing roots deeper in absence. Winter brought trials of its own. Jamie's freshman slump, grades dipping amid parties and pressures. My calls a mix of cheer and caution. "You're more than strokes," I'd say, echoing poolside wisdom. He rallied, acing midterms, even dating. A sweet artist named Theo, introduced over video, his wave awkward but genuine. Jealousy flickered, quickly doused. Our bond was foundation, not fence. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by pride. His article in the campus paper on queer swimmers. My studio's feature in Seattle Weekly. Spring renewal hit with cherry blossoms rioting pink along the avenues. Jamie's spring break was a whirlwind. Murals co-painted on campus walls. Family dinners where Theo charmed Sarah with bad puns. Romance for us? A stolen weekend in Portland, bookshops and breweries. Holding hands unashamed in the Pearl District. "This is us," he said. Over IPAs at a rooftop bar, city sprawled below. No more hiding lanes. As summer beckoned again, the cycle renewed, not circular, but spiraling upward. Jamie's internship at a Bay Area gallery. My studio expanding to hire a queer designer fresh from Cornish. Sarah and Lena's honeymoon tales, our porch pride flag weathered but waving. The locker room memory, a talisman now, unbelievable grace in every glance exchanged. Love, we'd learned, is the ultimate relay. Passing batons through storms, emerging not unbroken, but beautifully mended. 2 years into Jamie's Berkeley odyssey, our lives had settled into a rhythm as reliable as the tides. Predictable swells of joy punctuating the undertow of longing. I'd expanded the studio into a co-working space for LGBTQ+ creatives. A brick-and-mortar haven in Capitol Hill where rainbow flags fluttered from the rafters and coffee brewed strong enough to fuel revolutions. Jamie thrived, art major with a minor in sports psych, captaining the club swim team, his murals gracing campuses from Oakland to Eugene. Visits were sacraments, holidays a blur of airport hugs, summers a languid reunion in our Ballard nest. romance sustained on embers. Sexts that teased without scorching, care packages of my homemade granola and his hand-painted cards, the emotional tether humming across I-5. But equilibrium invites disruption, and ours came insidious, wrapped in concern. It started with Sarah's call one crisp November eve, her voice edged with that counselor calm masking panic. Jamie's, spiraling. Grades slipped last semester, and Theo? They broke it off. He's talking recklessness, parties, hookups. Says he needs to live wild before it's too late. My heart plummeted, the studio's hum fading to white noise. Recklessness? Our Jamie, the unflinching locker room lion? He's testing, I said, more hope than conviction. Pushing because we're solid. She wasn't convinced. Visit him. Ground him. I booked the flight that night, landing in San Francisco airport under relentless drizzle. The Bay's fog a metaphor for the murk ahead. Jamie met me at the dorms, disheveled in a hoodie 2 sizes too big, stubble shadowing his jaw. Dad, Alex, he corrected with a half-smile, hugging tight but brief. His room was chaos. Canvases leaning like dominoes, empty beer cans winking from the trash. We walked the campus, golden ginkgo leaves crunching underfoot, the campanile tolling distant hours. It's nothing, he insisted, kicking a pebble. Just pressure. Scouts sniffing for pro deals, art show's deadline, and after Theo. His voice trailed, eyes on the horizon. Betrayal crept in subtle. Not his, but the world's, the relentless grind of expectations on a queer kid from the heartland's edge. You're enough without medals or masterpieces, I said, echoing old refrains. But he whirled, frustration flaring. Easy for you to say. You're settled, studio killing it, Sarah happy. Me? I'm treading water, wondering if I'm just the poster boy for your redemption. The words landed like a false start buzzer, raw and reverberating. Redemption? Was that what he saw, our love as therapy, not truth? We fought in the quad, voices low but laced with venom, students streaming past oblivious. I dove into this for you, Jamie, not some savior complex. That kiss on the beach? It wrecked me, rebuilt me. He softened, tears brimming. I know, but what if I drown us both? Emotional climax in the open air. Him collapsing against me, sobs muffled in my coat, the campus an indifferent witness. We retreated to a diner off Telegraph, greasy spoons and milkshakes our confessional. Over fries he spilled. Theo's ghosting after coming out pressure. A hookup gone sour that left him hollow. The fear that our unconventional love doomed him to isolation. I listened, heart aching with recognition. My own 20s, fumbling in shadows. Love isn't a lifeboat. It's the ocean. Wild, deep, sometimes stormy. But we swim it together. He nodded, squeezing my hand under the table. The romance rekindling in that simple anchor. We spent the weekend reclaiming ground. Gallery crawls where he critiqued with fire renewed. Swims in the campus pool where I spotted his lapse, strokes sinking like heartbeats. Departure was tear-streaked at the gate. His promise? I'll call more. No more wild without you. Back in Seattle, the scare lingered, prompting shifts. I joined a long-distance partners group online, swapping tips on virtual dates, movie syncs over Netflix party, surprise deliveries of his favorite matcha. Jamie rallied. Therapy via campus wellness. A new crush on a poet named Kai. Tentative texts shared with me like olive branches. Sarah and I debriefed over wine. Her insight gold. He's mirroring your old doubts. Give him grace. Romance evolved, deepening into mentorship laced with desire. Letters handwritten. Read aloud on calls. Words weaving intimacy beyond screens. Winter holidays brought fragile festivity. Jamie home for Hanukkah/Christmas fusion. Lena's lax mingling with prime rib. The house alight with candles and carols. But conflict simmered beneath. Kai flaking on a visit. Jamie's mood dipping like mercury. New Year's Eve, as fireworks bloomed over the sound. He confessed on the deck, bundled in my scarf. I pushed him away, scared of what we have too real. I pulled him close, the bursts reflecting in his eyes. Then lean in. We're the unbelievable ones. Remember? Spring semester tested further. Jamie's thesis show, a multimedia dive into queer identity through water metaphors, projections of rippling pools overlaying locker room confessions. I flew down for opening night, the gallery packed with professors and peers, air humming with validation. His piece on us? Subtle, a video loop of waves crashing, overlaid with audio snippets. My voice coaching, his laugh echoing, a blurred kiss in silhouette. For the man who taught me to surface, the plaque read. Pride swelled, tears unbidden as he hugged me post-show, whispering, "Couldn't without you." Yet climax loomed in summer's heat, Jamie's internship turning internship nightmare, boss's microaggressions, jokes about lifestyle choices eroding his confidence. Calls grew strained, his voice edged with defeat. Maybe art's not it. Back to swimming full-time. Panic flickered. Our paths diverging? I drove down unannounced, arriving at his cramped Oakland sublet as thunder rumbled. He opened the door, exhausted, paint splattered. What? Words died as I pulled him into a hug, the storm breaking outside mirroring within. We talked till lightning danced, rain sheeting windows. "You're not quitting, you," I said, cupping his face. "This internship? It's a wave, not the sea." Betrayal unpacked. The world's casual cruelty, internalized as self-doubt. He broke then, admitting a relapse. A drunken night with an ex, guilt gnawing. Felt like betrayal. To you, to us. Emotional rawness crested. Forgiveness in touches, kisses that healed without hurrying. The romance a lighthouse in fog. Resolution bloomed slow. He confronted the boss, HR involved, internship salvaged with boundaries. Kai returned wiser, their dates now Jamie's choice, shared with me openly. Back in Seattle for July 4th, barbecues on Alki with Sarah's crew, we watched fireworks from the dunes. Echoes of that fight night years back. "Unbelievable how far," he murmured, head on my shoulder. Humanistic truth. Growth isn't linear, but layered. Loves like ours enduring the bends. Fall semester steadied. Jamie's senior year a launchpad. Capstone accepted for national exhibit. Swim team nationals birth. My studio hit stride. A collab with his gallery for queer athlete portraits. Visits wove tighter. Thanksgiving in Berkeley, his dorm a riot of friends. Me charming with dad's stories. Romance? A weekend in Napa, vineyards rolling gold, where we hiked to overlooks, hands linked, dreaming postgrad, him in Seattle galleries, me consulting remotely. Ours forever, he vowed at sunset, the valley a canvas below. As winter loomed again, the cycle affirmed. Conflicts as catalysts, betrayals as bridges to deeper trust. The locker room's echo? Origin myth now, propelling us forward. Unbelievable not in shock, but in sustained wonder. Jamie's senior spring unfurled like a victory lap laced with valedictory weight. The Berkeley hills alive with jacaranda blooms bruising the air purple. A perfumed prelude to endings and encores. His capstone exhibit toured, murals installed in San Francisco's Castro district, bold declarations of fluid identities that drew crowds and critics. One review dubbing it a tidal wave of tender defiance. I attended the opening, suitcases stuffed with Seattle salmon for a post-party picnic, pride a constant hum in my chest. Yet beneath the acclaim, subtle fissures. Postgrad offers pouring in New York galleries, LA collectives, each a siren call pulling him eastward, away from our Pacific anchor. Romance held as our North Star, visits a ritual of reconnection. Me flying down for weekends, him northbound for stolen days amid my deadlines. We'd reclaim the city like newlyweds. Dinners at queer-owned spots in the Mission, where tamales steamed with stories. Dawn swims in the bay, fog cloaking our splashes like secrets. Touches grew bolder in privacy. Nights in his off-campus apartment. Bodies mapping familiar terrains with the reverence of artists. Always pausing at passion's edge. The emotional bond our true consummation. "You're my horizon," he'd whisper, fingers tracing my collarbone. The words a vow against vanishing points. Conflict crystallized in May, graduation's shadow looming like a high dive. Over a video call, Crackling with dorm Wi-Fi ghosts, he dropped the bomb. An offer from an LMA-affiliated residency in Manhattan, 2 years, all expenses, a fast track to blue-chip status. It's huge, Alex. But it's New York. Silence stretched. The screens glow harsh on my face back in the studio. Rain tapping windows like impatient fingers. Elation warred with ache. Pride in his ascent, terror of the chasm. We knew it'd come, I said, voice steady. But damn kid. Oceans this time. He flew home for commencement planning. The Ballard house a hive of excitement. Sarah booking flights, Lena monogramming grad gifts, me masking turmoil with to-do lists. Evenings, we'd walk the locks, salmon leaping fish ladders like metaphors for ambition's leap. What if it's too far? He voiced one dusk, boats chugging past. Betrayal surfaced, not intentional, but the cruel math of dreams diverging. You think I'd choose paint over us? Hurt edged his tone. I stopped, turning him to face me. The waters murmur our witness. Never doubt that. But life pulls. Mark pulled me once, nearly under. Don't let it drown what we built. The fight brewed slow, erupting Memorial Day weekend at a family barbecue in Golden Gardens. Picnic blankets spread under madrona trees. The sound winking turquoise. Kai joined, easy charm diffusing tensions. But as coals died and kids chased frisbees, Jamie pulled me aside by the playground. You're acting like it's goodbye, like New York's the enemy. Frustration flared, voices low hissing over playground squeals. It's not goodbye, it's change. And change scares me, Jamie. What if the distance echoes, turns us to ghosts? He recoiled, eyes flashing. Ghosts? We've swum storms. This is my shot. Our stories about unbelievable, remember? Not safe harbors. He stormed to the water's edge, skipping stones like skipped heartbeats. While I nursed a beer, Sarah's sidelong glance heavy with knowing. Lena mediated later, over esmores by the fire pit. Talk it out, boys. Love's not a lane, it meanders. That night, in the guest room, emotion crested. Him slipping under covers, back turned. I bridged the gap, arm around his waist. I'm scared of losing you to the city that choose dreamers. He rolled, facing me, tears silver in moonlight. Then come with, or visit, but don't clip my wings. Kisses followed, soft absolutions, the romance reaffirming in whispers. Compromise as compass. Graduation weekend was catharsis. Berkeley Stadium a sea of caps and gowns under relentless sun. Jamie crossed the stage, diploma aloft, his speech. A nod to mentors, a subtle shout-out to the man who taught me courage in chlorine. Drawing cheers and my misty nod from the bleachers. Post-ceremony, family feast at Shea Panis. Toasts flowing like the Napa rivers we'd canoed. But climax waited in the afterglow. A late-night call from MoMA, formalizing the offer with a relocation stipend. Jamie accepted over speaker, we all whooping, but his eyes met mine. Triumph laced with trepidation. Summer blurred into relocation frenzy. Apartment hunts via Zoom. My studio prepping for a satellite pop-up in Brooklyn to bridge the gap. Betrayal's final twist came unexpected. From within, a flare of doubt during packing. Jamie, boxes taped amid half-sketched farewells, confessed over coffee. What if I'm running? From the whispers back home, from us being unconventional, the locker room's shadow resurfacing. I knelt amid the chaos, hands on his knees. Running? Nah, you're charging. And unconventional? That's our superpower. Emotional depth plumbed. Stories retold, vulnerabilities bared anew. The humanistic weave of growth through gaze. Fall found us in flux. Jamie's Manhattan whirlwind, subway symphonies, gallery openings in lofts with skyline views, shared via daily vlogs, his energy electric. I visited first. The studio pop-up a cozy nook in Williamsburg, coffee-fueled collabs with East Coast queer artists. Our reunion? A weekend in Central Park, rowboats on the lake, his head on my shoulder as leaves turned. Romance reignited. Dinners at hidden gems in the village, where we'd hold hands over candlelight, dreaming expansions. His exhibits, my designs crossing coasts. No oceans now, just bridges. Winter holidays merged worlds. Thanksgiving in Seattle, Christmas in New York. Times Square frenzy yielding to quiet tree trimming in his walk-up. Ornaments from Ballard mingling with MoMA swag. Sarah and Lena FaceTime toasts, the family net wider, stronger. Spring brought Jamie's first solo show, Tidal Echoes. At a Chelsea space, pieces chronicling our saga in abstract waves. A central installation. 2 figures entwined in blue glass, titled Unbelievable Anchor. Critics raved, buyers bid, but the dedication plaque? For A. Who dove first? Climax resolved in summer swelter, a cross-country road trip redux. Me driving east, him westbound midway in Chicago for a mural fest. We met at the Bean, its mirrored curve reflecting us infinite, hands clasped as tourists milled. 2 years down, he said, grinning. Feels like lapse. Betrayal's echoes silenced, replaced by forward momentum. His residency extending, my studio franchising to the Bay. Romance? Eternal current. Visits monthly, collaborations constant, the emotional core unassailable. Ending humanistic, not tied with bows. No perfect harmony, but a symphony of sustains. Back in Seattle, Sarah's retirement party, a bash of laughter and legacies. Jamie Skyping roasts from afar. Nights alone, I trace his latest sketch, sent digital, a wave-cresting rainbow, knowing love's true form. Not possession, but propulsion. The unbelievable, not the locker room shock, but the life's work since. A gay story American as Route 66, dramatic in dips, romantic in rises, forever human in its hopeful drift. Years on, we thrive. Jamie's galleries spanning coasts, my designs in museums, visits a rhythm of reunions. Sarah and Lena's cabin in the Cascades are neutral ground. Family expanded with Kai's sister. Adoptions pondered. The locker room? A pilgrimage site now, Jamie coaching there, me guest whistling, kids diving fearless. Unbelievable endures. Not in beginnings, but in the endless, emotional sea we swim.